When Jungkook's father sells him off to settle a debt with one of the most feared gangsters in the city, his life takes a sudden and terrifying turn. Taehyung, a powerful yet enigmatic boss, sees Jungkook as nothing more than collateral at first. However, as Jungkook adjusts to his new life under Taehyung's control, he begins to see cracks in the man's icy exterior. What starts as a relationship of fear and submission soon blossoms into something neither of them expected, a love that challenges the harsh world they live in. Jungkook must navigate the darkness of Taehyung's empire, while Taehyung struggles to protect the one person who has managed to warm his heart. Jungkook's hands trembled as he clutched the envelope his father had tossed at him earlier that evening. His heart sank with every passing second, dread pooling in the pit of his stomach as he read the contents for the third time. The letter wasn't addressed to him, it was an agreement, signed and sealed, transferring his life to a man he had never met. "I had no choice," his father had said, his voice cold and unapologetic. "You'll do more good for this family there than you ever have here." Hours later, Jungkook found himself shoved into a sleek black car. His tears had dried by then, replaced with a numb acceptance. The world outside the window blurred as the vehicle sped toward his fate. When the car stopped in front of a towering mansion, his breath hitched. The gates opened, revealing a sprawling estate that screamed power and danger. As the driver escorted him inside, Jungkook's heart raced. In the dimly lit study, Taehyung stood by the window, his broad shoulders draped in a tailor suit. His face was unreadable as he turned to face Jungkook, his sharp eyes scanning the trembling figure before him. "This is him?" Taehyung asked, his deep voice sending shivers down Jungkook's spine. "Yes, boss," the driver replied before stepping out, leaving the two alone. Taehyung approached slowly, his gaze unwavering. Jungkook wanted to look away, but the intensity of those eyes held him captive. "You're mine now," Taehyung said, his voice soft yet commanding. "You'll do as I say, and in return, you'll be taken care of." Jungkook swallowed hard, unable to muster a response. The words felt like a sentence and a promise all at once. Taehyung's lips curled into a faint smirk. "Let's see if you're worth the price I paid." Jungkook followed Taehyung through the grand hallways of the mansion, his heart thudding in his chest. Every step he took felt heavier than the last. The opulence of his surroundings only heightened his unease, the gleaming chandeliers, marble floors, and expensive art seemed to mock his uncertainty. Taehyung's presence was overwhelming. He walked with quiet authority, his hands tucked into the pockets of his tailored slacks. Not once did he glance back at Jungkook, as though he knew the younger man had no choice but to follow. Finally, they reached a room at the end of the corridor. Taehyung opened the door and stepped aside, motioning for Jungkook to enter. "This way, your room," he said simply, his voice devoid of emotion. Jungkook stepped inside hesitantly, his wide eyes taking in the space. It was luxurious, far beyond anything he had ever known, a massive bed with silk sheets, a walk-in closet, and a private bathroom. Yet, it felt cold and unwelcoming, much like the man standing behind him. Why me?" Jungkook asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Taehyung leaned against the doorframe, his gaze steady. "Because your father owed me a debt, and you were the payment he offered." Simple as that. Jungkook flinched at the bluntness of the statement, tears pricking the corners of his eyes. He wanted to scream, to demand his life back, but fear held him back. "Do what you're told, and you'll live comfortably here," Taehyung continued, his tone sharp. Defy me, and you'll regret it. With that, he turned and left, shutting the door behind him. Jungkook sank onto the edge of the bed, his hands trembling. He had never felt so alone, so powerless. But as despair began to creep in, a flicker of resolve sparked within him. If this was his reality now, he would find a way to survive, no matter what it took. Jungkook awoke to the faint sound of knocking. His head shot up, realizing he must have fallen asleep fully dressed on the massive bed. Before he could answer, the door opened, and a tall man with a stern expression stepped inside. "Boss wants you downstairs," the man said curtly, his tone leaving no room for argument. Jungkook hesitated but nodded, sliding off the bed. His heart pounded as he followed the man through the winding hallways until they entered a grand dining room. Taehyung sat at the head of the long table, a glass of wine in hand. He was dressed more casually now, a white button-up shirt with the sleeves rolled up, exposing strong forearms. His sharp gaze landed on Jungkook the moment he stepped inside. "Sit," Taehyung ordered, gesturing to the chair across from him. Jungkook obeyed silently, his fingers clutching the edge of his chair as if it would ground him. "Do you know why you're here?" Jungkook Taehyung asked, his voice calm yet laced with authority. Jungkook shook his head, unable to meet Taehyung's piercing gaze. "I don't tolerate disobedience," Taehyung said, leaning forward slightly. "But I also reward loyalty." Jungkook swallowed hard, unsure of what he was supposed to say. "You're not just a pretty face to decorate my mansion," Taehyung continued. "You'll work for me. I have a business to run, and you'll play your part in it." "What kind of business?" Jungkook asked cautiously, his voice trembling. Taehyung's lips curved into a smirk. "The kind that doesn't concern you. All you need to know is that I expect you to follow orders without question." Jungkook felt a chill run down his spine. This man was dangerous, and there was no escaping the world he had been thrust into. "You'll start small," Taehyung added, rising from his seat. "I'll assign someone to train you. You'll stay by my side when I deem it necessary. And remember," he leaned down, his face mere inches from Jungkook's. "You belong to me now." Jungkook's breath hitched as their eyes locked. For a brief moment, he thought he saw something flicker in Taehyung's gaze, something softer, almost curious, but it was gone just as quickly. As Taehyung straightened and left the room, Jungkook was left grappling with a mix of fear and intrigue. He didn't know how he would survive in this world, but one thing was certain, there was no turning back.